Hey guys, this is Susanna and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so I have a special guest here today and he absolutely won't leave this table. And so he's just going to be in my video because he's been neglected since Hannah was born. So today I thought I would talk about I thought I'd answer a lot of the questions that I've received multiple times over the course of my time on Instagram. I've had a lot of people ask, well, these questions are specifically debt related questions, about like my debt payoff journey, things like that. I'm going to do another video later on with specifically teaching related questions that I receive frequently as well. So today's video is just strictly about debt and those questions that I've received often. So I guess we'll just get started. So the number one question that I get is, how did I accumulate my debt? A lot of people have wondered how I've accumulated the debt. Like, did I have a shopping problem, or was it student loans, or whatever it is? So the majority of our debt is from student loans. When I was 18, well, I just turned 19. Me and my sister, we were living at home. We had no plans of moving out on our own anytime soon because our mom always said that she wanted us to stay home while we were in college. And so that was just the plan. We were both making minimum wage, working 20 hours a week. Our paychecks were each like $220 every other week. So we were making basically nothing. It was just enough to basically pay for our gas, pay for our food, pay for our insurance and our phone, and that was it. But then we had a falling out, and my mom said that we needed to find somewhere else to live. So, no. You're not going to do that up here. If you're going to stay up here, you're going to be normal. Thank you. Okay. So, we had 2 weeks to basically get everything together. So in that 2-week period, I found a better job. I was working at Kmart originally. That was my first job ever, and I'd only been working there for like 11 months. So I was able to find another job. It was still minimum wage, but it was 40 hours a week instead of 20. So I was able to, it appeared at that time that I was working 60 to 70 hours a week. So because of that, I put that on the lease application for our apartment, and we were able to qualify because I can't remember what you call it, but the income ratio to the price of the apartment needed to be 2.5 times. Our rent was $689 a month. And between the two jobs and then plus my sister's, we were just able to qualify. Well, and actually my new job, the one that I just found, they actually lied for me and said that I was making like a lot more than I was, just so I could qualify for the apartment, which I was really grateful for. Our rent was only $689, so it wasn't, it was definitely a cheap apartment. It was the cheapest one we could find in an area where we wouldn't get abducted. And so it was a smart choice to move there. I don't regret that at all. So we had the 2 weeks. I got another job. I quit the job at Kmart. We continued our second semester. Well, that was actually summer. We moved out in July. So we had just finished our first year of college. So my total student loan debt for my bachelor's degree was about $50,000. And so that, just looking at the price of the college, that's a lot considering how much my school was. But considering the circumstances, me needing some of that money to live on, it was about $4,000 per semester to pay for college, and then it was about $2,000 to live on. So you're looking at $10,000 a year because it took me 5 years to complete. So overall, it wasn't half bad. Like it could have been much worse because I definitely wasn't taking out like the maximum allowed or anything like that. I just took what I needed, truly. Okay. So that was my student loan debt. Some of our debt also came from our wedding. So most of the wedding itself was paid in cash. Our total wedding was $5,000, and we were actually reimbursed some of that because of all the things that went wrong on our wedding day. That's a video for another day. But so the wedding itself was less than $5,000, and then our honeymoon was about $4,000. And so we paid most of the wedding in cash, and all of this was ourselves. We didn't have any help from family whatsoever. And then the $4,000 for the honeymoon we did charge, and so I put that on credit. But it was amazing. We went to Boston, we went to Martha's Vineyard, and so it was like our first like huge trip that wasn't like a road trip. And so that we'd been together for 8 years by the time we got married, so I don't regret the trip at all, even though we did have to charge it. So we've got student loans, we've got the the credit cards from the wedding, and then I also had a couple of credit cards that I charged to live on while I was still in college, um, and then my car when I graduated and started teaching. I did get a new car. It wasn't brand new. It was new to me. It was a couple of years old. It was a late model used car, and I paid about 15,000 for that total. So that was added on to my debt. So, and then the majority of Nick's debt was student loans as well. But then he did accumulate some credit card debt when he moved out on his own and moved in with me. So I lived on my own with my sister for a year, and then because Nick and I had only been dating for a year at the time when I was kicked out of living at home, and so he just wasn't ready to move out, and so I was mad at the time, but it worked out fine, obviously, because we got married. So um, once he moved in with me, he did accumulate some credit card debt. Charlie, your hair is killing me. Killing. Okay. Um, so yeah, our total debt is about, last time I calculated it was about 180,000, including everything, which is a lot. But considering the circumstances, it's what we need to do to break the cycle in our families. Both of us kind of come from rough backgrounds. He was raised by his grandma and his uncle. I was technically raised by my mom, but I mostly raised myself. There's a lot of issues in my family. And so me and my sister were the first ones to go to college in our family. I'm the first one to have a car in my name without a cosigner. I'm the first one to buy a house without any help. It was just me. So even though we did accumulate a lot of debt, I don't regret a single choice that I made. I tried my best to make smart choices throughout that whole time. I've had a $75 grocery budget since I was like 19. So not many people can say that, you know. I've never been a huge spender. I'm not like a clothes shopper. I'll keep clothes until they have holes in them and I have to throw them away. I'm not a name brand person. I've never bought a brand new handbag. I've never bought brand new sunglasses. Not like there's nothing wrong with those people that do, but it's just never been something that I've been interested in. I've never spent a lot of money on makeup. My biggest pet peeve is Starbucks, as you guys know. I don't drink alcohol, so I don't have to pay for that. I've never smoked. I don't pay for that. And so I've saved a lot of money just by living frugally. And that it's just because it's just what I do. It's just who I am. So that's helped us tremendously. So now that we're at this stage where we're actually paying off our debt, we've been able to keep our expenses so low because we never like inflated our lifestyle, which has been a huge factor in what we've been able to accomplish so far. Okay, so the next question that I get a lot, Charlie, you're laying on my questions. What method do you use to pay off your debt? So we use mostly the snowball method. It's loosely based on what Dave Ramsey does, but I'm not like a huge Dave Ramsey like fan. There's nothing against him, but I just don't like follow one single person. I just kind of do what works for me. And so I started off by paying my first credit card. The balance was like $400 and something, and then I rolled over that payment to the next credit card, which the balance on that one was $900, and then the next card the balance was like $1,200, and then the next card that balance was a little bit higher. I think that one was $3,000. That was one of the ones from our honeymoon. And so I was able to pay off all of my credit card debt about, what was it? So I started my Instagram account in April of 2018, and I was able to pay off my last credit card right after Hannah was born, which was March of 2019. So yeah, it took me about a year, and I was able to pay off about, what was it, like 10,000 in credit card debt, something like that. And so the debt snowball method definitely helped a lot because I was able to like see the progress. Now I think I'm in a place where I could use the avalanche method instead, which is starting with the highest interest. It doesn't matter the balance. But just at that time, because I was making so little extra to go towards debt, definitely the debt snowball method was the way to go for me. Okay, another question I get all the time is, how did I increase my income? So I'm a teacher. Everyone knows that teachers don't make like a whole ton of money, and so a lot of people have asked how I raised my income. So there are a few things that I did. The first thing is I increased first of all, you absolutely have to know your district's like way to increase pay. you have to know it like the back of your hand. There are so many people that I've talked to in my district that just had no idea what to do to increase their pay. You've got to find out what is the most effective and efficient way to raise your income for your district. And so I did that. At first, I got my master's degree because back then that was the way to do it, was to just go to school, get the credits, and then they would give you your raise. However, once I finished my degree, literally the month that I finished it, they changed the system that we used to get raises. And so instead of just going to school, you couldn't do that anymore. Just a master's wasn't enough to get the pay increase. And so it was obviously like this, like just, ugh. It was so annoying at the time. I was able to submit it and get about a $1,200 raise, but it was much less than the raise that I would have gotten with the old system. So that was annoying, but I just moved on with my life. There was nothing I could do. Well, it's actually $1,500 a year, 1,500. Um, so after that, the new system required 675 hours of schooling or professional development called contact units. The units themselves were contact units. Each contact unit was equivalent to 3 hours of time. We needed 675 hours to get the raise, and it all had to be outside of contract time. We couldn't use professional development during the school day or during contract time. So I spent an entire year. It took about a year. I did all 675 hours just about in one school year. 70 hours, 80 hours a week, every week for that entire school year. It was a lot of work. So when I share my pay now, I get so many people that are always like, I wish my pay was that high. I wish my district did this, did that. But they don't know the hard work that I put in to get that. Not everyone in my district gets that as high of pay as I do for my seniority, and that's because I worked really, really hard. Of course, there are definitely other districts that pay lower, but that's not what I'm addressing. I'm just saying that I worked really hard to get that pay increase. So it took 675 hours. I was doing 70, 80 hours a week, every week, getting my TESOL endorsement, going to professional development. So a huge complaint about the system that they put into place was people saying that you had to pay a lot of money in order to get the raise. And so because my district is so sketchy about honoring contracts, like I've never had a contract honored, and I've been teaching for 6 years, people were hesitant to pay to get like a master's or something if they weren't guaranteed a raise, which is understandable. So I wound up doing a TESOL endorsement because it costs between like $3,000 and $4,000, and then the rest of it I did just professional developments that were either free or where they paid me. And so it was time consuming. It would have been a lot less time consuming to do a master's or something like that, but I didn't want to wind up paying just in case I didn't get the pay increase that I was promised. So I had people tell me I was crazy. I had teachers tell me I was wasting my time, that I was never going to get that pay increase. But I knew, because we had a contract, we have a union, that they would have to pay me eventually. I knew it could have taken years, but I knew at some point I was going to get paid and I was going to get my back pay. So I just ignored all the people that said I was crazy, that said I was wasting my time. I just put, what's that saying? Put my nose to the groundstone, whatever that saying is. And I just put my head down and I did the work. And now my pay is $800 a month higher than it would have been if I wouldn't have done anything. And so I'm really grateful that I just kind of blocked out all those people and I just did what I thought I needed to do. Another way that I increased my income as a teacher, oh my gosh, Charlie, can you? Ugh. Another way that I increased my income as a teacher is by selling my prep period. So those of you non-teachers, a prep period is the period of time we're given each day to like grade papers or put grades in the grade book, make lesson plans, things like that. And I actually sold mine to teach another class, and they pay me my hourly rate. So I'm paid an extra like $500 to $600 a month for doing that. Now I don't get it during the summer, but I still get it during the school year. So between the prep buyout and my pay for doing the extra classes and things like that, I've increased my income 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 13 to $1,400 a month. Yes, I count on my fingers. I'm a reading teacher. So $1,300 to $1,400 a month extra than I would be getting if I didn't do anything. And so that is really the key in helping us pay our debt off. So me and Nick were paying like the bills. We split it up proportionately, so based on our income. Nick is making less than me right now, so he's paying less of the bills, and it's been like that for some time, and that's okay because he's getting where he needs to be. And so he made many sacrifices so I could finish school, so I could get through my college, So now it's his turn. And so now I'm the one who's taking care of most of, like, not most of the bills, but a good chunk of the bills. So he can do what he needs to do. Originally he was going to school, but he did take some time off from going to UNLV to become a GM at his current job. Right now he's pretty close. He'll be promoted to GM before the end of this year, which will be like a huge pay increase, like humongous. And so even though he's not doing what he set out to do with his college degree, honestly, I don't even care because he's going to make the same, if not more, than he would in his field, just being a GM where he's been working all this time. And so, if he's happy, like I don't care. A lot of people in my family have judged him for doing that, but if he's happy, I'm happy, That's all I care about. I want him to be happy, and so if he's happy working there, then that's what I want him to do. Okay, so another question that I get all the time: why don't you and Nick combine finances? And so people always like look so deep into it, like, oh, there's a controlling factor or this or that, or it's not healthy or blah blah blah. But really, we've been together since we were 17. We've been together since before we had jobs, before I could drive. Well, no, I just got my driver's license. Like, we were kids when we got together. And so we didn't combine finances because we were still children, we were not going to do that right away. And then we just didn't want to do it until we got married, and we didn't get married until we were 25. So we had been together for 8 years by the time we got married, and we'd been doing everything just independently. And so when we got married, it just didn't work out as well. We just both like having our independence. We trust each other to make smart choices. We never make any large purchases without consulting the other one, and we just like it this way. So I pay my portion of the bills, he pays his portion. We both take care of Hannah, and it just works better for us. It's not like one person is controlling all the finances or anything like that. If he's working on part of his debt and he needs extra, I'll give him extra when I have it. He'll do the same for me. With like the tax return, we'll split that. Last year I got all the tax return to pay towards my credit cards to help me be credit card debt free. So this year he's getting all the tax return. Like, it's always fair. So there's not like this like hidden agenda or anything like that, which I've had a lot of people make comments about that. So it's what works for us because we were so young when we got together. All right. The last question I'm going to answer today. What expenses did you give up to pay off debt? So a lot of people in the debt-free community talk about like what they've given up in order to be debt-free, like lowering their expenses. But really, we didn't lower anything when we started our debt-free journey. We've always kept our expenses low. We've never had cable. We have never purchased anything like a boat or a quad or anything like that with a payment that we didn't need. We don't have any like things of value that we can sell, so we didn't do that. Let's see what else. So we didn't like lower any of our expenses because we really didn't have any. When I bought my house in 2016, it was literally the cheapest house in our entire neighborhood that was like livable. There were other ones that were like run down and abandoned, but this was the cheapest move-in ready house that we could possibly find. It's only 2 bedroom. It's 1,050 square feet, 1 bath. And so it was literally the cheapest house in the market. That's why my mortgage is only $645 a month. So people always comment on the price of my house, but you cannot find a house this cheap anymore. The market has almost doubled here in the 4 years since I purchased it. So everyone will always comment like, oh, it must be nice. It must be nice. Well, I chose to buy at that time, even though it was against so many financial people's expertise. So many people would have told me not to buy this house, but it is one of the biggest factors that's contributed to our being able to pay off debt, because my mortgage is only $650 essentially, and rent here has skyrocketed to like $1,300 or $1,400 a month for the same size house. And so by making that purchase back then, it has helped us like significantly. We didn't have to get rid of anything. We've always kept it basic. Like I mentioned earlier, I've had my $75 a month grocery budget since I was 19. So we haven't had any expenses that have contributed to our debt. It was just kind of getting by and living until I graduated from college. And then now it'll be once Nick becomes a GM, that's when the fun begins. We're going to really be able to crush our debt once he does that. So we're looking at towards the end of this year that he'll be able to promote, and then game on. We do have some possible changes coming up as far as our well, I'm not going to say what, but we do have some changes coming up. We haven't decided anything officially. No, probably. No, I'm not pregnant. I don't plan on becoming pregnant anytime soon, but we do have some significant changes coming up. And so once we're ready to share those, I'll share them, but we just don't have anything finalized and we don't even know if it's going to happen yet. So we're going to hold off on sharing that stuff until it gets closer to when we're thinking of doing it. So yeah. If you have any questions about my debt payoff journey, about anything like that, feel free to leave them in the comments or, of course, leave them on Instagram. I thank you so much for sticking through this long rant with my cat on my table. So until next time, bye, friends.